this is just the sensible sort of digital outcome of all of that, right? It's the digital implementation of that stuff, but with the possibility to do so much more than just have collector cards and stuff like that because of the nature of tech.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Inside the Markets presented by StockPulse.com. We're sitting down today with James Brooks of Team Brooks, and we're going to be discussing what NFTs are. And NFTs are a technology that have kind of taken the cryptocurrency space by storm, and also a large swath of popular culture as well. Whereas historically, this like NFT technology has been used or theorized to be used in supply chain tracking type technology. It burst onto the scene in 2021 as a tool for artists to buy and sell their art, really, and also for collectors to own unique collectibles. And I know, James, your work's been featured in publications such as BBC, and I know that recently you've turned your attention to the NFT space. So I'm curious, can you kind of brief us what is an NFT and what people are using them for?
Sure. So NFT stands for non-fungible token, and essentially it's a token that's non-fungible. So in the sense that you've got, for example, Bitcoin or Ethereum, and these tokens are, one Bitcoin is a Bitcoin, right? And they're interchangeable. Well, with NFTs, they are unique tokens. And so we have seen, as you mentioned, this massive rise in digital collectibles, essentially, where you've got unique NFTs. And there's a lot of kind of popular projects out there that, are putting out 10,000 unique tokens, and they might be variations on a certain idea, but every single one of them is unique and therefore non-fungible. And it's great for people who are into collectibles and into, items that might be more rare than others within collections, in the same way that we've seen in years gone by with basketball cards and Pokemon cards and that sort of thing.
What are some of the collections that we've seen catch fire in recent months? So I guess originally there was like artwork where people were just selling, I think, one of a kind artwork or destroying the artwork and like selling a token based off the event, as happened in the Beeple example. And then we've kind of, I think, transitioned into a collection based NFT market where people are really getting into collections. So I'm personally most interested in the Bitcoin blockchain and some of the developments happening there, however slow they may be. That's certainly not to discount what's going on mostly Ethereum and Ethereum/Polygon and some of these other blockchains where NFTs are proliferating. But on the Bitcoin blockchain, at least, there's some stuff that's recently come out. For instance, Bitcoin Monkeys is a collection, and there's just I think probably a set of like, say, I don't know the exact number, but say 10,000 unique different monkeys, and you can buy, your own little purple monkey with the yellow background or what have you. So can you kind of speak to what you're seeing on the ground in the NFT space and what people seem interested in?
Yeah, I mean, wow, there's such broad things going on in the space. Obviously, a very popular type of project is your kind of 10,000 profile picture project. So some of the really recognizable ones are going to be things like CryptoPunks, which is actually quite an old project, several years old. And then you've got kind of like Bored Ape Yacht Club as well, and the sort of derivatives from that. But there's also some really interesting artists putting stuff out there. There's artists who, for example, are, programming AI to generate art, and they're putting that out as tokens on the blockchain. And you've got games as well. Like in the last couple of weeks, literally, there have been, so there was one big project on the Ethereum blockchain called Wolf Game, which really took the space by storm, as it kind of involved having, buying NFTs of either wolves or sheep. And there was sort of gaming mechanics in there where if you staked your sheep token, you would get a cryptocurrency called wool. And then you could use that wool to buy more NFTs, and you could only buy it with the wool. And then if you owned a wolf, then I believe that you could steal some of the wool from the sheep. So it's like really interesting stuff coming through, literally game mechanics on the blockchain. And it's funny, isn't it? Because it seems all so lo-fi, really. It kind of reminds me of some of the stuff that we saw on the internet in the 90s. But it just goes to show that it's kind of a scene that's just sort of like progressing over time, and people are being very creative with the sort of limitations of the technology as it expands, which I just find absolutely fascinating.
The lo-fi aspect in some cases is due to the technological limitations of the blockchain, where it is unable to host large image files, for instance. And so there's been a lot of discussion about different types of NFTs that have popped up onto the market. There are those where the artwork lives off of the blockchain, and there are those where the artwork is seeking to live on the blockchain. And in that case, you have certainly the lo-fi vibe that you've mentioned. And I think we can talk about that. There's a cultural element to the lo-fi vibe of NFTs and the way in which they caught on, and kind of this notion that, we have increasingly advanced graphics, but sometimes I guess people aren't always demanding such sophisticated graphics. For instance, there's a project by Gary Vaynerchuk, VFriends, and he drew some very nice little pictures. But by any stretch of the, most people would not consider him to be like a foremost artist. And I think he caught a lot of grief for that. And his thesis is that eye is in the beauty of the beholder, and that every individual's got their own artwork, and that's valuable in its own way. Well, I think his thesis was proved correct, because we've seen largely on the back of his social media following and the value that he's provided to people previous to VFriends, and as well people liking the art, his VFriends really caught on. And I don't remember what the prices were originally when they went on sale, but now, I think the floor for these VFriend NFTs is about 10 ETH, maybe 8 ETH, which today that's like $32,000 approximately for one of these things. And clearly that has caught on. And these VFriends also double as tickets to a event that's coming up, VCon, I believe it's called, where he's going to be hosting a big conference for his VFriends. And the only way to get in is with one of these VFriends. So do you have any comments on that project? Yeah,
totally. I mean, I think that it came out with a Dutch auction, basically. So some of the VFriends were sort of like 2+ ETH, but some of the ones that didn't do as well in the Dutch auction were about half an ETH. So people who have bought those have done very, very well if they've held on to them. On the artwork, I mean, I do understand beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I think what VFriends really brings, though, is a lot of utility as a project. You get to belong to a community of, let's face it, like-minded people. People who are into Gary Vee, entrepreneurial people, and people interested in the kind of wisdom and inspiration that he brings. Plus, obviously, this utility of being able to go to the next, I think, 3 years worth of VCon events in person. And some of those NFTs had further utility as well. So I think he had one called a gift goat, where once every quarter or something like that, he would send a gift, a physical gift to your address. And there was also NFTs where people could get access to him, because obviously Gary Vee is someone who's super in demand and people want his time. And so it was a great way of him being able to effectively sell his time. I think that, when it comes to the artwork, there's some projects that they rely 100% on the artwork. Like, it's got to be great artwork. And there's some amazing artists out there doing really cool projects and not really promising anything beyond that. On the other side of things, you've got projects like VFriends, where actually the artwork, it's a little bit, it's not that great, but
it's not our taste.
It's not our taste, but the project itself, the community, and what they're trying to build is fantastic. So, I think it's just different strokes for different folks, different different aims and sort of outcomes for the projects.
There's different types of NFTs with different types of utility, as you mentioned, and I've seen examples of such utility being that the NFT can act as a wallet. It can accrue APY just for holding it, etc. So we're in a very nascent stage for the NFT, and it'll be interesting to see where it progresses. As I stated earlier, this technology that's being applied towards the NFT space was theorized for quite a while, since at least 2014 in the blockchain space, as technology that could be used in the supply chain sector, where companies would be able to track each individual item all the way through the chain of custody. And this was sold as this was probably one of the leading exploration angles of, I think, like, for instance, corporate America or big corporations for this blockchain technology. And I think it obviously caught fire in the form of NFTs. And I know you've been in the space for quite a while, James, in the cryptocurrency space. So I'm curious, did you see NFTs coming? And when they did, like, what did you think?
So it's interesting because, like you said, I saw NFTs theorized, even so, quite far back, where they were talking about making specific Bitcoins unique in some way, etc. But it has been a bit of a tsunami, I'd say, certainly in the last 12 months, where we've seen it become a lot more sort of mainstream in the crypto space. I think it takes some time to understand the value in NFTs, right? There's a bit of a joke around the NFT community of, oh, why would you pay for that? You can just right-click, save it. And I think that that's a real misunderstanding of what the the NFT thing is all about. It's like saying, why would you want to own a first edition shiny Charizard when you could photocopy it and have your own copy of it? It's not the same, right? And so people for generations now have enjoyed collecting. People have enjoyed card games and stuff like that. So this is just the sensible sort of digital outcome of all of that, right? It's the digital implementation of that stuff, but with the possibility to do so much more than just have collector cards and stuff like that, because of the nature of tech and the fact it's digital and how that can integrate with so many other aspects of the internet. So yeah, we're still very, very early, but this is, so it's a great technology that's going to be really exciting. And I think, for people, especially in our generation who loved things like Pokemon cards, this stuff really resonates. And that's why I think we're seeing a lot of quirky artwork, a lot of 8-bit artwork and stuff like that really brings the nostalgia to people in our sort of generation.
For someone who is, for an artist, say somebody who takes photos, or they're I guess creating music also. I know that there's this music NFT notion floating around, and probably a lot of good examples thereof as well. Artists who draw painters who are sitting here wondering, should I NFTize my artwork, or maybe it's not the right call for that specific individual person. When someone's at that stage, what should they be looking at, and what options do they have at their fingertips to create a community that has a lot of functionality, as you mentioned some of these NFTs do?
Yeah, so I would say that your first step is to get acquainted with Discord. When it comes to NFT communities, Discord is currently the platform of choice. For those who aren't aware, it is a sort of chat platform where you have effectively a Discord server, which is around a theme, and then you can have different channels on there for different threads of conversation. And that seems to be where most NFT kind of projects start. And so I would say that if you're an independent artist, if you want to start getting involved in NFTs, build a Discord server around you, your personal brand, and your art. If you've got already existing accounts on places like Instagram, or if you're an artist, maybe it's Behance or Dribble or something like that. Get people over to a Discord, invite them in, and start building a community around the art that you're doing. Start sharing some of the behind the scenes of what you're working on and what you're thinking about. Start sharing some of your inspiration with that community. And then you can start thinking about how you might put a project out there. And there's a number of ways to do that. I know some really fantastic artists who, for example, put one NFT out per day. Or there's other artists who, as they have a new piece, they'll create a single NFT, one of one. There are other people who do these generative projects where they'll effectively create elements. So, like we see with CryptoPunks or with Bored Ape Yacht Club, there's, hundreds of different elements that then get merged together algorithmically to create 10,000 different pieces of art. You could look at doing that. There are some great resources out there for actually layering up the artwork. So if you can draw it and start, layering it together, that could be a really good way of building your project. But, I think that what would be true to say about nearly every successful NFT project out there at the moment is that it's all based on a community of like-minded people, a community of people who are into the art or into the concept. And that is going to be the firm foundation that you build your NFT project upon.
I know that you've built community well, James, and that's very clear by your social media presences. So on that front, what's the singular greatest unlock for building community, or what's like resonated with you? What's worked for you as you've been able to build out this community?
So I think that far too many people have far too great an opinion of themselves and of the content that they put out. It's very rare to be in a situation where you can just broadcast kind of promotional stuff and kind of selfish stuff and do well. There's a lot of scaling the unscalable involved here, really. It's about having those one-to-one conversations and really making brand ambassadors, even if it's your own personal brand, within your community. And that involves a lot of hard work. That involves actively following other people on social media and actively commenting on their stuff with actual comments that mean something, that aren't just meaningless. And, really starting small, building up that core and just building it larger and larger, building that core of believers. And that, my friends, that is going to take a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears. Like, you need to say goodbye to your gaming time. You need to say goodbye to your playing Angry Birds on the toilet time, because it's all about getting your hands dirty, meeting people and building meaningful relationships that are going to be friendships for life. That's the attitude to have.
You mentioned something that's an interesting concept, scaling the unscalable. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is doing things that other brands aren't prepared to do because it seems so ridiculous. So for my clients, obviously, like I run an agency, a social media agency that works with food brands, and we push our clients to spend more money on community management than they do on content, because we see the value in community. That means that we push our clients to reply to every single comment on their social media meaningfully, which means that you've got, some of these clients that we're working with are national or international food brands that get hundreds of comments every day on their social media, and we reply to every single one of them, and we build friendships as community managers with these people, so that we have in-jokes with them, so that the idea is we want to know their name, we want to know who they are, and for them to feel that way. Because if you can get people who are in your community to feel good about the fact that they have interacted with your content, they're going to keep doing it because it makes them feel good. So it's all about making those people feel really special, really good, and that you're taking the time to really understand who they are, what their needs are, what they're excited about, and that it is unscalable. And so it's about scaling that in a way that, you know, most people just wouldn't even think about.
For me, like what's been quite liberating is instead of looking at something I put out that has like 2 views and 0 likes or something along those lines and being bummed or deflated, I now look at that piece of content and I say like, yes, 2 views. Like, I'm so grateful. James, I
Yeah.
know that you are working in the NFT space. So can you kind of outline some of the challenges and tribulations that you've had while you've been getting into the NFT space, as well as what you're working on in the NFT space?
Sure. So I think that obviously the space is relatively new, and that brings its own challenges, especially if you're a non-technical person. You know, I'm definitely not a technical person. I'm not a coder. If I build apps, it's in a no-code manner, and there's not loads of no-code tools out there. So either you're going to have to work with a developer, or you're going to have to work with a platform, and there's platforms out there, but you know they all have their limitations. So I think, you know, getting your NFT project out there from a technical point of view is a challenge, though not impossible. We're one of the platforms that we're sort of looking at the moment is called Third Web. They've got a really interesting model whereby they take, I believe, 5% of the royalties of secondary market trading, and in exchange they help you set up your smart contract. They really, you know, will hold your hand through the whole process of launching your NFT. I think that's a really smart business model, and you know, as a creator, it's kind of a no-brainer. There's no money up front. These guys are sort of taking the risk, but then obviously 5% of your royalty fees goes to them as part of the smart contract. But as far as I'm concerned, that's a small price to pay for a very technologically sound and, you know, professional team. So yeah, that's a kind of platform that you could look into. At the moment, they're mainly API based, but they are literally this week bringing out embeddable widgets. So really, someone who doesn't know how to code, you can mint your own NFTs using their platform. And that's across Ethereum mainnet, but also platforms like Polygon, etc. In terms of what we're up to, obviously, as I mentioned before, I run a agency in the kind of food space. So we work with some of the world's biggest food and beverage brands, and therefore we are currently creating a project called the Secret Food Society, which is a food and beverage themed NFT project. So we're currently building a community. We're going to be doing a drop, very limited drop of 100 NFTs in the next couple of weeks. And then Series 2 will probably come in Q1 next year. We're not in a rush. We're not wanting to throw, you know, thousands or tens of thousands of NFTs out there. What we're trying to do here is build a solid community of people who are into NFTs, into crypto, but also massively into food. We've already got some incredible partnerships lined up with, again, global brands who we're going to be creating limited edition products with. And if you're an NFT token holder, you will receive those products for free. And we're going to have various other perks for holders, for society members, you know, including we're going to do Society on Tour at least once a year, whereby we will airdrop 5 golden tickets to token holders randomly, and anyone who gets one of those golden tickets will get to come on an all expenses paid food tour of a lifetime in a major city around the world. And we're also planning to be the launch pad of any major food and beverage NFT projects. So if there are international brands who want to get into the NFT space, we will be the launch pad for them. We will provide the technical help for them, but most crucially, we will provide an opportunity for them to grow their own community by connecting with our community. So that will involve us, you know, airdropping exciting new NFT project tokens to our community. So we're really pumped about Secret Food Society. We feel like it's a really unique kind of proposition for the space, something very different, and something that we know we can deliver on because we already have, as a team, those relationships with companies and brands in the space, some of the best food and beverage brands out there.
Where do you see NFTs going in the future? What's kind of like your futuristic version of where NFTs could lead?
So I believe that NFTs really are going to cut out the middleman when it comes to essentially patrons supporting creators. So I believe that, Patreon, for example, is going to need to really pivot their business model if they still want to be in business. OnlyFans, for example, are going to need to really pivot their business model if they still want to be in business, because I believe that we're going to see a lot of middlemen cut out. But also, we need to understand that we are heading into a metaverse future whereby virtual reality and augmented reality are going to become extremely important. And, many of us may cringe at the thought of that and be perhaps upset at the thought of that. But it's really important that we don't romanticize the past, and that if we're people who want to, whether as investors or creators or entrepreneurs, be on the cutting edge of what's going on, we can't fight it. We've got to go with it. And so I think it's really important to recognize that sort of metaverse future that we're going to see, and the importance of digital assets within that. And so, I expect that those NFT projects that do survive, because let me tell you, I think that the vast majority of NFT projects out there are just going to fall by the wayside, just like we saw in the crypto space in 2017 with ICOs. Most of these, even major ICOs, are no longer a thing. But those that do survive, I think they're going to be very important as digital assets within various metaverses that we will see pop up over time.
We've had the honor and privilege of sitting down today with James Brooks of Team Brooks. James, where can people find you?
So my social media is at James Brooks Co. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, YouTube. And then also it would be worth you checking out the NFT project, the Secret Food Society. We are on Twitter. It's Secret Food SOC, Secret Food SOC, and be great to meet you. Jump in the Discord and we'll have a chit chat.
We've had the honor and privilege of sitting down today with James Brooks of Team Brooks. Thank you so much, James, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's been great. See you soon.
And thank you everyone for listening.